North Florida football fans, welcome to another edition of the Extra Point. It is round 3 in the state of Florida high school football playoffs, and we are getting down to where we call the nitty gritty. Coach, we got a lot of action going on from around the area, but man, it was a great football weekend last weekend. We had a chance to see a lot of interesting matchups and a lot of great teams, and I was pretty impressed with what I saw by a lot of our better teams in the area. Man, we had an epic matchup going down in Crawfordville. We'll get to that in just a moment. But man, I I hate to see gruesome injuries, but man, I feel bad for Jordan Travis. Great career at Florida State, but hate to see it come to an end like that.
If you when you play football, you know when you step on the field, anything can happen.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is true.
you hope you walk off the field. Sometimes you get little bumps and bruises. Then there's those horrific injuries that you get, and you just when you walk on, you say a little prayer. Most players they know the consequences and what could happen in a game, and you just hope that you could walk off. And I hate to see the young man suffer like that. He's done so much for the Florida State program. He's done a lot for college football. He's a quality guy. He does the right things. You never hear about anything negative with him. And he got Florida State to the close to the finish line. They got to take it over.
Absolutely. I think his track record is very stellar. Number 2 in passing all time at Florida State in a short amount of time. I think he's done amazing things. You got to wonder sometimes, Coach, I know you've been in this situation before. Would you have started him that game knowing that they were playing North Alabama? Would you try to have arrested him to
You
avoid
probably
something like this?
you probably have a fight if you didn't start a kid because kids want to play. And
Yeah,
I
he's
can
competitive.
I can see probably a game plan to play him in the first half, getting the game out of control, and then taking him out because you want your young guys to get reps. Those are the games at that level that you try to get kids experience playing. And
So
I
yeah,
think I don't think it was. I don't think he had a chance. I think if they'd have started off better, he wouldn't have probably tried to run as much, and he might have got
yeah,
away.
I look at how the game progressed. They started out very, very awkward. You know, trying to do stuff they don't. They were running things I think they don't normally run. Probably just trying to experiment a little bit against the North Alabama squad that took advantage that Lions were up 13-0. But Tate Rodemaker is a great quarterback. He's been with the program for quite some time. He was Mike Norvell's first commit, so he knows the offense, and I think FSU fans should feel confident knowing that the backup quarterback is going to get the job done. So
I think
uh,
they're very fortunate, Mark, to have a backup quarterback that had that kind of experience. He won a few games for them in the past, so this is it's not a big deal to him. I think he'll be fine. I think with the players he got around him, he has some pro athletes surrounding his offense. He just got to keep the car in the middle of the road and don't do anything he wouldn't normally do. Be positive. Just manage the game.
hand the ball off and throw it to Keon.
Don't forget about Johnny.
Yep, can't forget about Johnny either. Meanwhile, if Rattler fans have recovered from the classic weekend hangover, don't forget to get your tickets because they will sell out for the SWAC championship game. First time ever being held in Bragg Stadium. From what I heard, there are only about 3 sections left open, so you might want to go ahead and jump on that. But Coach, man, we got some great high school football action. It was a great weekend. This is what you want from the playoffs. Let's go ahead and jump into the round 2 playoffs action from last weekend. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to go ahead and head down. Great game down in Crawfordville between Florida High and Wakulla. And man, the second quarter by Florida High just proved to be too much. 17 points scored in the second quarter after putting up 10 in the first. And that was pretty much what was needed in order for Florida High to run away with it. Wakulla looked like they were going to mount up a comeback here in the third quarter as they scored very quickly, but Florida High just did what they do in most games, and that's clamp down on defense as they were able to kind of stifle the War Eagles offense, which is no small feat. Wakulla has playmakers all over the field, and then of course you want the ball to be in Hayden Clease's hands going down the stretch, but it just wasn't enough as Florida High runs away with this one, 42-28, and that will set up a big-time third-round matchup with Florida High and Pensacola Catholic. We'll preview that game in just a moment, but great season by Wakulla. Did not end the way they wanted it to, and you hate to know that somebody's going to come out on the losing end of some of these games, but man, Florida High really just had too many playmakers in this game that were able to take advantage of some of the opportunities here. Quarterback Jeremy Johnston was 15 of 22 for 228 yards, and that's what you want out of your quarterback. No interceptions. The Seminoles did not turn the ball over, from what I could tell. And then meanwhile, when you've got that running back by committee, any little bit kind of helps. But Jaden Threats was a big running back on the field for the Seminoles. He put up 228 yards rushing, and when you've got a running back that can do that against a really good defense, it's going to bode well for you when you want to go deep in the playoffs.
It wasn't a surprise that Florida had won. The surprise was the score. I looked at it at halftime, and they were about 2 touchdowns. And I'm thinking, I thought this was going to go down to the wire, but my hat's off to the coaching staff at Florida. They beat a really good football team. It's sort of sad. We talked about this in our playoffs show we had, that it's sort of like the most unfair region where you had like 2 teams undefeated, a couple other teams that were ranked high. It is hard to get through that. And the team that leaves there should be the favorite, in my opinion, to get to the Final Four to face probably Coco.
Yeah, I look at certain things, especially when you look at the stats. The stat lines defensively, both teams were evenly matched. Both teams came up with 3 sacks. Nobody turned the ball over. Both teams took care of the ball. Just Florida High, really opportunistic, especially in the ground game. I think that holding your opponent to only about 100 yards on the ground while one of your running backs puts up 228 yards, it just makes up all the difference. And you hate to see it. Wakulla was one of the fun teams to watch in the area. It was a great atmosphere, but somebody had to win, and it was Florida High that took advantage. And the Seminoles will be moving on. Just a great defensive stand at the end of the ball game to kind of secure the victory going into the fourth quarter for Florida High. And that'll set them up pretty nicely next week as they get ready to take on Pensacola Catholic. One of the things around the area, when you look at how, a lot of teams are built, you just try to, pick out certain players, but really Florida High and Wakulla both on either side of the ball just had it was a great football team that really was able to secure the victory for them. And that offensive line unit for Florida High needs to be celebrated. Give them their flowers now. That's a team that's an offensive line unit that has been together for the better part of 3 seasons, and they have been absolutely stellar for the Seminoles and very crucial to their success going forward into the postseason.
Yeah, Mark, I agree with you. You look at these kids, these teams, and the key word is team. You can depend on, you can lean on one thing or the other, and that makes you dangerous as a football team, because if I go in and I'm a key on one person or key on one side of the ball, and you can do other things, it makes you dangerous, makes you tough to beat. And going back to that game with Wakulla, it surprised me that the score was what it was, because I thought this was going to be a tight, low-scoring game. They showed up, and everybody I think everybody did what they normally do, and it was a surprise. The score was a surprise, not the outcome.
Right, definitely. But that will set up your 2S classification quite nicely. Seminoles on the warpath, looking to get back to the state championship game where they feel like they have some unfinished business. And they said it at Media Day where they felt like they were on a revenge tour. And so far, they've been holding to that saying. And a lot of what a lot of what will unfold over the next couple of weeks will be really just a real test, as you're seeing a lot of 1 and 2 seeds emerge out of their respective regions, and this will be a great regional final with them and Pensacola Catholic, a great kind of rivalry for them. They've a team that Florida High is very familiar with. Pensacola Catholic down Walton last week, 42-15, and looking at how Pensacola Catholic had already seen Walton in the regular season, and it was a pretty convincing win for the Braves. Whatever they did to make the adjustment, offensively, making the adjustment to be able to take advantage, it worked, because Walton was just kind of out of sorts for the entire ball game as Pensacola Catholic pulled away. Um, and just looking at how you have one of the more dominant teams in the area, just kind of goes to prove that anything can happen in the playoffs. Nobody is safe. You cannot hang your hat on anything. It's just playoff football. It's just kind of uncanny the way it happens. Walton was not able to find the end zone until the second half, uh, which is very uncharacteristic for them throughout the regular season. It just kind of felt like they were not able to kind of catch up as they trailed 21-0 at halftime. So Pensacola Catholic, it looked like they were very opportunistic, came up with a couple of big turnovers that kind of pushed Walton to the brink, and they were able to walk away with it, scoring another 21 points in the second half, and it just was not enough for the Braves to mount a comeback. So
Yeah,
that'll set up your
surprising.
2S. That'll set up your 2S regional final.
That was a big surprise. Walton was at home, the number one seed in this region, and had beaten Pensacola Catholic early in the season. And to get, I mean, they handled Walton, which was a surprise. No, the defense pretty much shut down a potent offense, and they scored. And they were like putting up 42 points. I mean, that was a shocker to me. But hey, it's the playoffs. It's one and done. You got to win your games. One and done. If you don't win, you go home. If you win, you keep moving on.
Yeah, and the way Pensacola Catholic did it was all on the ground. 387 yards rushing by the team. They had a couple of guys go over 150 yards apiece. Meanwhile, defensively, I think they just stacked 8 in the box and just dared Walton to drop back and throw the ball because passing, Walton only had 140 yards in the air and only 82 on the ground, which is uncharacteristic of them. So Pensacola Catholic looked like they found the chink in the armor, so to speak, and Walton just wasn't able to recover. So moving on around, we got some 1A scores, one rural scores to get into, but we're going to jump over to 3S, a little bit of a shocker here for us, looking at how Lincoln fell badly to Choctaw, 38-7, and just Trojans once again ending their season on a sour note, and just not what you expected coming out of the ball game from Lincoln. But Choctaw really jumped out offensively to a very, very hot start, very fast, and Lincoln just was not able to recover. They just got boat race going down the stretch. For Choctaw, their quarterback Jesse Winslet threw for 148 yards, and meanwhile the rushing attack was all over the place as they had 2 running backs go over 100 yards apiece. Cole Tab ran for 192 yards as Choctaw put up 339 yards on the ground, and which was very uncharacteristic for Lincoln because they were known to have a pretty good, solid defensive unit that just was out of sorts the whole night.
It looked like Lincoln did. I hate to say this, it looked like they wasn't ready to play. I watched the game, and the first touchdown was a deep pass. And I turned my head. Next thing I know, Choctaw was running in the end zone again on the running back. They ran the ball up and down the field. I've never seen the team get beat like this. Not this Trojan team. I was very surprised, and I was wondering. I hadn't talked to Coach Tyson yet, but I'm just curious about what happened. That's not the team I've seen all season, but you got to be ready to play when it's your turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Lincoln will be turning in pads this week. It's just unfortunate. It's a great team, but just not able to stand up to what was really a really strong ground attack by Choctaw. And so the Indians will be moving on to the third round, where they'll take on St. Augustine down in St. Augustine next weekend. So let's jump back over to the 1S classification, where we saw one of our guys, Eddie Cuenca, saw a great game between McClay and John Paul, and really when you look at how it was stacked up, one of the bigger things about the game was just the mere fact that how the teams were just both evenly matched. It was a back and forth contest. John Paul had a kind of a solid lead going into the third quarter. After halftime, McClay comes right back, comes within a touchdown. It was 28-22, and then we just saw a barrage of scores where it was pretty much a slugfest. McClay came back, stole the lead 35-28 at the early part of the fourth quarter, and then that's when all the fireworks came out as John Paul stormed back. And then McClay had a great opportunity to be able to, as they were able to get the ball back with the safety. And that's really what you want. If you're able to grab a quick 2 points and then get the ball back, retain possession. But the drive just stalled late in the game, and John Paul was able to walk away with a 42 to 37 victory. And McClay, man, you just kind of wonder. They threw a big interception in the early in the ball game that went for a touchdown, and you just kind of got to wonder, man, those turnovers, man, they'll kill you, especially when they set up scores for the other team.
Usually, the team that wins is a team that get the least turnovers. You win a turnover battle, you got a good chance of winning. Play solid football. You don't want to give points away when you got the ball. So that was tough for them. And I have to give Coach Carter, he did a great job. They started the season off slow, and they began to pick up steam in the second half of the season. Congratulations on a great season. Good luck next season.
Yeah, that was really the tail of the tape for both teams, actually, is they just were vastly improved as the season went along. Both John Paul and McClay. John Paul started the season with 5 straight losses, and the schedule was not kind to them. Started off with playing IMG, Calvary Christian, Lincoln, lost a close one to Leon, then Wakulla, where they were shut out pretty badly. Then they go on the tear where they absolutely ripped apart Arnold and the other St. John Paul from down south. FAMU High was another shutout win for them. And then they finally, it just looks like they were able to kind of find their groove. And the same with McClay, as they were able to secure some really good victories late in the season. It just kind of set up a really good matchup, and both teams were kind of evenly matched if you watch the game. But the turnovers by McClay really just kind of sealed their fate. And John Paul will be moving on, and that'll set up a crosstown rematch with North Florida Christian. A game that really, I kind of had this one circled. Didn't know if it was going to pan out the way the brackets were set up. Could have easily been McClay sitting in this spot. Had the ball bounced a different way, but it's John Paul, and they'll be visiting North Florida Christian next week, as the Eagles were able to take care of business against Monroe with the 47-7 win. And it was really not a contest, Coach, as the Eagles put up 26 points in the second quarter and just ran away with the ball game. J.P. Pickles was 19 of 35 for 297, and then led the team in rushing, as they're missing quite a few pieces. So he was getting the job done just with his arm and with his legs by himself. Receiving, Joshua Schutz led all receivers with 129 yards receiving. And NFC just kind of did what they do. On defense, it was just kind of business as usual for the Eagles. Great team victory, and that'll set up a really big matchup with John Paul with this Friday coming. And I look for NFC at home. They just kind of know what they need to do. This is familiar territory for them. This is a team that has 8 state championships. Looking for another title, and they're on another playoff run right now. And they've got even though their roster's been depleted a little bit, this is still a very complete ball team.
Yeah, we look. They're in a familiar place at North Florida Christian. They, as you said, they won 8 state titles, been in many playoff runs. Um, I look for them to be impressive at home, and it makes a big difference playing at home. But it's gonna be tough with Jermaine Hughes over there with John Paul to knock them out. So I'm looking for a pretty good competitive game, and we'll see on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. As we make our way around the brackets, we've covered 1S, 2S with some great ball games, 3S. And so now it's time to drop down to the one rule classification where it's just this is our version of March Madness. I don't care what anybody says. This is November Madness where we've got essentially still 8 teams left in the North Florida region that are still competing for a state championship, and quite a few of them are from the 1R classification. So let's go ahead and run through what was really just a great second round. Bozeman had to pull out a miracle to defeat Northview, and a great team win for the Bucks as they were able to take care of business and keep their state championship playoff hopes alive with a great effort in the fourth quarter as they were able to pull it out. With scoring 9 points in the fourth to be able to snag the victory. They trailed pretty much I think they trailed most of the ball game. They were able to mount the comeback victory. And what can you say about the veteran quarterback Peyton Gay? 256 yards passing, only had the one interception, but also threw for 3 touchdowns. And then on the ground, not very much going for the Bucks as Northview really tried to stop the rushing game, but receiving, I think definitely it was there were 5 different Bucks that were able to be on the receiving end of those passes. And then John Hansen caught 2 touchdowns for Bozeman as they were able to kind of secure that victory over Northview. Northview really kind of had Bozeman's number for most of the ball game, but when you got a veteran team that's able to go in and guys that have played together for quite a bit, the experience level really shows as Bozeman was able to pull out the victory, and that'll set up an epic rematch between them and Holmes County next week as the Holmes County Blue Devils down Chipley 26-7. And we expected it to be close, and for the most part of the game, it was. Holmes County led 12-7 going into the fourth quarter, where they were finally able to break open the floodgates and put up 14 points in the fourth and take care of business against Chipley at home. And really just a great victory for the Blue Devils as they get that coveted rematch against Bozeman, a game that was very close, came down to the wire. But man, when you look at Holmes County, they just kind of first down you to death. They had I think they had a total of 21 first downs in the game, and that really, man, that does such damage to your defense when you can't get off the field.
Yeah, it's tough when you got a team running it down your throat. You can't stop them. It's very frustrating. But this game between Bozeman, they don't need much time to score. So I think this going back to the earlier matchup, hoping they win. Bozeman's at home. Bozeman, it's going to be tough to beat them at their place, but I think it's going to be a good matchup because I think Holmes is going to slow the game down. Like you say, first down you to death. Keep that offense on the sideline as much as possible, and it should be a close game and come down to the wire again.
Yeah, you've got a matchup with a heavy passing team in Bozeman and a heavy running team in Holmes County. And Holmes County only threw 3 passes last week in the victory. They kept it on the ground. They, as a team, they ran for 230 yards, and they were led by Landon Lumpkin, who put up 140 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. And that's pretty much it. It's that they are what you see. There's no additives, no preservatives, no pulling punches. They're going to run the ball, and they're definitely going to try to do what you said, Coach, which is keep the Bozeman offense off the field. just with that ground attack. And if they can average about 3 to 4 yards a carry, which is about what they did against Chipley, especially going down the stretch, it's going to be hard to beat them. They're going to be a formidable opponent. And likewise for Bozeman, you just want to keep the ball out of Peyton Gay's hands, because he is lethal. He'll sit back there and pick you apart. He's got plenty of weapons in receivers. He's also able to move the ball around a little bit. And, just you really want to be able to see which defense is going to make the adjustment to the other team's offense, and whoever can do that will probably come away with the victory and be headed on to the next round.
Yeah, Mark, I think the key in this game probably be turnovers. If you can control the game, don't make many mistakes. I know you talk about it as a coach. I talk about turnovers because that dictates a lot of football games. It makes it very difficult to win when you're turning the ball over. And these guys, I mean, you got to keep Holmes got to keep that offense on the sideline, and they got to score when they get the ball. They can't have a 10-play drive and then punt the ball away and then go and use up all that time and allow Bozeman to go up and down the field throwing the football. I look for a very close game coming down to the wire. Fourth quarter decide this game. Turnovers are decided.
Yeah, it definitely will factor in big time. I think for Bozeman, you don't want to throw interceptions, and for Holmes County, you don't want to put the ball on the ground. Both offenses are defined in what they do, and it'll be a great matchup. We're definitely going to have our eyes on it, and the winner of that one, waiting on them, will be the winner of what looks like, of what will be the Blountstown Port St. Joe matchup on the other side of the bracket. And Blountstown, it's like when you go to Bragg Stadium, that's like where offenses go to die. It's been some of the most lowest scoring contests. Excuse me. I'm gonna take a sip of water out of my favorite FAMU cup. But yeah, when you go to Blountstown, it's just like offenses just turn themselves off, and really, time of possession was even. Blountstown had the ball for 24 minutes. Sneeze had the ball for 23 minutes and like 40 seconds. It was pretty much evenly matched. Sneeze jumped out early with a quick score and just could not convert on the extra point or the 2-point conversion attempt, and that was the deciding factor in the ball game. When you play Blountstown, everything matters. As far as points wise, you need to take the scores where you can get them, because it will be a low scoring affair. Blountstown was able to score in midway through the third, and that was all she wrote. Jordan Pride and company did not put up more than maybe about 9 yards passing. It was not a aerial attack here, as Blountstown really just kept it on the ground, and I did not amass that much rushing, as they were only able to put up 114 yards on the ground, but they did just enough to be able to secure the victory. Defense is the name of the game when you play Blountstown, and they'll have a pretty good chance to kind of see what they'll have a pretty good chance to see what next week will look like when they face Port St. Joe. The Tiger Sharks are a familiar opponent for them, as they've been able to kind of very quietly go about handling business. Their head coach, Coach Tanner Jones, has put together a great team. And you got to think, for Port St. Joe, is a little bit of an emotional factor riding on them this season, as they lost 2 players tragically in the offseason. And so this team has a lot of emotion, they've been carrying around, as they want to be able to kind of play for those teammates that they lost. So this will be an emotionally charged game for them as they go into the contest. But they were on the losing end facing Blountstown in the regular season. I think they lost 34-14 is what the score says. But I think things will be a lot different when the Tiger Sharks visit Bragg Stadium this year. I think they will have some adjustments made, and they're playing some of their best ball right now, coming off of 2 straight wins over Bay and over Arcilla Christian. I think this will be a different matchup when Port St. Joe comes into Bluntstown.
Yeah, Bloodstown is a very difficult place to play. But these two teams are very familiar with each other. They're used to it. And one year you think that this team is up and the other one's down, and vice versa. I think uh, with the way Port St. J plays, they're a passing football team, and it's a running team. So it's the same scenario that you have with Bozeman and Holmes. One team likes to throw the ball, the other team likes to ball control. And same thing, turnovers decide the game. The team that wins the turnover battle usually wins the game. You got to play solid football. You got to play your best football on that day because you don't get another chance in the playoffs. Win, play your hard-nosed football. These two teams know each other, so it should be a close matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, coming out of the South, the Madison County Cowboys are looking like the Cowboys that we are used to seeing absolutely demolish Lafayette Mayo, putting up 52 points in the first half. And it was just no contest from that point on. Really wasn't a game from the moment that the Cowboys emerged from the locker room. They just kind of did what they wanted to, and being able to play at Boot Hill just adds a sprinkle of just kind of a 12th man on the field. Something about that place. Madison just really took it to the Hornets. And we know Madison is running back by committee, but man, so many guys all over the field that were able to make great plays. And it was all Cowboys all the time as they pulled away from the Lafayette. 60-7 was the final. And that sets up a pretty good matchup next week with Madison and Union County. I look for the Cowboys as they will be hosting again to use some of that Boot Hill magic to propel them into what should be a great regional finals, semifinal matchup that will determine if they get a chance to go to Bragg. On the other side of that bracket, Williston beat Pahokee pretty badly, 52-17, as they will now host Hawthorne, who is if I'm not mistaken, I think Hawthorne is the reigning or the defending 1R champion, and they will be playing Williston next week. And so Madison County will have an opportunity to get back to where they feel like they belong by taking care of business against Union County this Friday. And that will do it for basically what is the thinning of the herd. It's win or go home. And there's nothing like some Thanksgiving football, Coach. This is the best time of year. If you've never played football on Thanksgiving, you got to try it at least once. Coach, I know you had a chance to coach on Thanksgiving. It's a great atmosphere to be in the playoffs this time of year. There's just nothing else like it. It's going to be a great opportunity to see who will have an opportunity to be playing for the right to be able to host that trophy up in Bragg Stadium in the next couple of weeks.
Mark, it's nothing like practicing on Thanksgiving Day as a high school coach. That means you're still in the playoffs. You got a lot to look forward to. I remember the first time we got to in that situation. I told the players, I walked up to them, I said, I appreciate you. I thank you guys for getting me here. I never got a chance to do that and when I played in high school. And I was just thankful to have the opportunity just to play Thanksgiving football, just to play that next day. You got to win, make it good. But it's an opportunity that very few kids get to experience when they're in high school. So you want to do your best. And a congratulations to all the teams that are out there still in the playoffs, got a chance to play in Bragg, which is something exciting. It's an experience I'll never forget, to play in the state championship game. The coaching, I didn't play, I coached.
The practices are always fun. You get a chance to go grab some turkey, get on the field, and then hopefully handle business on Friday night and keep the playoff hopes alive. But we encourage everybody to catch a game on Friday night. Hopefully, you won't be too full. And we are thankful for everybody who's kept up with Four Quarters Online this year and keeping track with the Extra Point. And we want everybody to enjoy their Thanksgiving holiday and their loved ones. We'll catch everybody next week for some round 4 action. This has been the Extra Point. I'm Mark Adams, and I'm with my tag team partner, Coach Cofield. We'll see everybody in round number 4.